Okay, welcome everyone again. This is a pre-proposal webinar for the Texas Sea Grant request for proposals for year 2020 to 2022. And just to kind of go over what we'll be reviewing today, our goals are to discuss the differences between Sea Grant funding and competitive funding opportunities from other sponsors for research proposals. We'll describe the research priorities that Texas Sea Grant is seeking in your proposal. We will review the pre-proposal preparation and the requirements for the pre-proposal submission. And then we'll go over briefly the life after a pre-proposal submission. And then I'll give you an overview of the submission process for your pre-proposal, which is done via the Sea Grant system. And I'll have some screenshots on how to submit a pre-proposal and step you through that process. And lastly, I'd like for you to save your questions to the end, and we'll answer those. In the Zoom meeting, we will be recording this. We are recording this, and we'll upload it to our Texas Sea Grant website following the webinar. Again, save your questions. You can go ahead and type them into the chat box. Again, just make notes to yourself as we're going through the presentation. I hope everyone has the RFP document with them, and we'll get started. The Texas Sea Grant College Program is headquartered here at Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. Our director is Pamela Plotkin, Dr. Pamela Plotkin, and I, Mia Zwolenski, I'm the Assistant Director for Research and Fiscal Administration. I am the research coordinator and will assist in the research competition. To give you an overview of the Sea Grant program, Texas Sea Grant is a partnership that unites the resources of our federal government, our state government, state of Texas, and universities across the state to create knowledge, tools, products, and services that help our Texas coastal communities, the marine industries, and the people of Texas. NOAA funds the 33 university-based Sea Grant programs across the country, and the headquarters for the state of Texas, the Sea Grant program, is here at Texas A&M University. We seek funding opportunities from other sponsors, primarily with NOAA, but with NOAA funding the Sea Grant program, they do so via our four-year omnibus, and our opportunity that we give to the state of Texas through partial funds of what we receive from NOAA. Our obligation to NOAA is to fund research across the state of Texas, and we do that by means of a biennial research competition. And we seek proposals that are research proposals, but it's a three-legged stool, as you can see, where the application of the research project can then be applied, the intellectual merit can then be applied of that research to the broader outcomes of extension, outreach, and education. And so with NOAA being our sponsor, which is federal flow-through funding to research proposals that we fund every 2 years, we have our strategic plan that aligns with NOAA, and we support research that aligns with our Texas Sea Grant strategic plan because we're evaluated by our sponsor on its research investments in us, the outcomes of these research investments, and the relevance of the investments to identified state needs. And so the strategic plan, which may be found in a link on the very first page of our request for proposal document, our strategic plan has focus areas where we want to concentrate our research funding priorities and our education, outreach, and extension activities as a result of those research funding needs. And the main focus areas that our strategic plan that we're focusing on for this competition is the three that you have listed in front of you there is the resilient communities and economies, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, and healthy coastal ecosystems. And what we encourage each of the investigators to do is, prior to even developing a proposal, prior to writing your pre-proposal, we recommend that the applicants review the Texas Sea Grant Strategic Plan, review those focus areas, concentrating on these top three, and review the goals that are listed under each focus areas, the actions and the outcomes that Texas Sea Grant is strategically planning to find solutions to, and to have our investigators assist us in achieving those goals and outcomes. So again, there's the link for the strategic plan. So of those focus areas, we then concentrate on specific research priorities. And how those are developed is by means of the strategic plan's focus areas, and we seek input from the public. Many of you may have filled out the survey that Dr. Plotkin sent out earlier in the fall semester. Input that we received from our advisory committee for the Texas Sea Grant College Program, and input received from the extension staff of our Texas Sea Grant College Program. So therefore, the most competitive research proposals will align with one or more of the focus areas and address one or more of the research priorities that were established for this request for proposal research competition. Those research priorities may be found on the second page of the RFP document and on this following slide. So as you can see, the research priorities, the main three focus areas of resilient communities and economies, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, healthy coastal ecosystems. Those priorities that are listed under each of these three focus areas, these are what Texas Sea Grant encourages for research proposals, where we would like you to emphasize one or more of those priorities listed under each focus area. So if you have a topic of interest, again, review the strategic plan, review these research priorities under the focus areas, because we want to encourage the priority funding of what's important for Texas. We support integrated research and extension projects that improve the understanding and wise use and stewardship of Texas's coastal marine resources. And our goals then are to also fund outcome-oriented research. So not just preparing a proposal on for example, green infrastructure, but how are you then going to integrate that into the broader impacts of education, outreach, and extension? For example, I have a list of the types of outcomes related to an outcome-oriented research proposal. These items are topics that you would like to focus on for making the transition from research to extension. Obviously, things that occur after a research project, a lot of these are obvious, like the publications, but we want to reach students. We want to develop curricula, inform educators, and have curricula be developed and adopted by those educators. You'll have students working on your research project. A lot of these items that are listed here, whether it's educational, habitats being protected, tools, technologies, all of these things that become the end result and can be reached out to for an extension or educational impact. How will those goals of your proposal, how will they impact policy or coastal planning, environmental developmental practices, community resiliency? So all of these items, volunteer engagements, patents, all of these items here are measurable metrics and performance measures that we then also report and have you report to us as we report to our sponsor. The Texas Sea Grant request for proposals has a two-phase merit review process. The first phase is a pre-proposal phase, of which we're concentrating on this morning, and then secondly, a full proposal phase. Both the pre and the full proposals are scored and ranked by technical review panels, and they're guided by objective criteria. Scores are then ranked substantially. They inform Texas Sea Grant's decision process so that we can look at pre-proposals to see how they fit within the strategic plan goals, focus areas, and research priorities, to then for us to make a decision to encourage or not encourage for that pre-proposal to be developed into a full proposal. And then ultimately, when a full proposal is submitted, these same scores and rankings are allowed to have us make a decision for funding or not funding full proposals. So it's a two-step process. Many of you are familiar with the process, but that kind of gives you an overview there. For point of contacts during this process, because the pre-proposals are due the 1st of February and the full proposals won't be due until June. And as you have questions about pre-proposals, the proposal development, the submission process and review, or the e-Sea Grant system for which you'll be using to submit your proposals, please contact me, and there's my contact information. Any questions regarding funding priorities specifically, then you may contact Dr. Plotkin directly at her contact information there. So for the pre-proposal, we have specific requirements which are on page 3 of the RFP. The pre-proposal is simply a 2-page PDF narrative, I guess similar to a letter of intent, but we are requiring you to include these 7 items. The pre-proposal is simply a 2-page narrative PDF document that's uploaded to our e-Sea Grant system. No budget is required for the pre-proposal, just your narrative. And so as you would on any type of a pre-proposal, this is basic information, but we would like for you to specifically list each of these. Your project title, the PI and co-PI names and institutional affiliations. And then again, this is getting back to the strategic plan, our focus area, and our funding research priorities for this RFP, we want you to tell us what is your primary focus area that you've selected for your proposal that it's taken from the strategic plan. Again, then also we want you to tell us at the start of your pre-proposal document, what research priority have you selected? And again, it can be found on page 2 of the RFP. And then your project description, your objectives, intellectual merit and broader impacts, that's more of the narrative. And then item number 6 is very important. We want you to specifically list the relationship of the focus area and the research priority that you have chosen for your pre-proposal topic. How will that research proposed relate to that specific focus area and research priority that you have chosen to propose for your pre-proposal narrative? And then lastly, more of the narrative, your programmatic justification for your proposal and the outcomes that you anticipate from your proposed research. And again, the outcomes were listed on the prior slide where it had that long list of examples of outcome-oriented research, where we want you to think in terms of taking your results and applying it through extension, outreach, and education. So for the pre-proposal submission, we are requiring you to submit your proposal. Your pre-proposal must be submitted using the EC Grant online system in order to be eligible to submit a full proposal. And so that is something that we are requiring, and that is an eligibility requirement as well to even submit the full proposal. You have to submit the pre-proposal using the EC Grant online system. The pre-proposals are due February 4th, and they're due before 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, and I've got that emphasized before because the EC Grant online system is set to automatically close at 5 o'clock. So we encourage you to submit and resubmit. You can even resubmit your pre-proposal until you're satisfied, but the final submission must be done before 5 o'clock on February 4th. You may access the EC Grant system at this just description of the link here, and we have a manual, the EC Grant PI manual, that gives an overview from the company that developed EC Grant. It's a PI manual that just kind of gives you an overview on how to register as an investigator, or if you have signed in previously from a prior competition, you would just log in again and reset your password and that sort of thing. So continuing with the pre-proposal requirements, the 2-page narrative formatting requirements, the text must be single-spaced, 12-point minimum font, 1-inch margins. There isn't a specific type of font. We just have a requirement for no less than 12-point. The pre-proposal must not exceed that 2-page PDF narrative, and it should be written in the third person, informative to those working in the same or related discipline, and understandable to a scientifically literate audience. Please do not include page numbers, headers, footers, or exceed the 2 pages. So the pre-proposal is just a simple document for you to convey the 7 required content elements, and for you just to get that pre-proposal into the EC Grant system. Formatting is not required as far as page numbers, headers, or footers. So please do not include those. The number of proposals that a PI and or a co-PI may be listed on is no more than 2. And successful investigators will receive a maximum of 1 grant. So you can submit more than 1, but no more than 2 pre-proposals. So after you've submitted a pre-proposal, the life of the pre-proposal will go in this order. First, the pre-proposals will undergo an administrative review by me. I'll be looking to make sure that you have included the 7 components that we have listed on slide 9, the title, PI, co-PI names, institutional affiliations, your focus area, your research priority, your project description, relationship to the focus area and the research priorities, programmatic justification and outcomes that you anticipate from your proposed research. So I will be reviewing to make sure those items are listed in your pre-proposal, that the pre-proposal is no more than 2 pages, and it's a PDF document that's been uploaded as a narrative. After the administrative review, if that has passed, it will move on to a technical review by a panel of subject matter experts and the Texas Sea Grant Extension specialists. Then we're looking at up to 24 pre-proposals will be encouraged for development into full proposals. And the full proposals, we will, after the pre-proposals have had the administrative and technical review, we will, by April 1, we will send the pre-proposal feedback, the reviews, and whether you're encouraged to submit a full proposal. We will send those to you all by April 1st. So you're submitting your pre-proposal early February. It leaves a good 3 weeks or so for our technical reviewers to perform a thorough review of all of the pre-proposals and for decisions to be made. Time for me to compile everything and get those results back to the PIs on whether the pre-proposal has been encouraged to move forward to a full proposal. So please be patient. From February through March, you won't hear from us until the 1st of April on that feedback. The full proposals will be due in EC Grant mid-June, June 14th, again, before that 5 o'clock system cutoff deadline. We are planning the 1st of May to have a workshop, and that will be on May 6th. These dates are on the first page of the RFP as well, but I wanted to let you know that the time and place is still, it will be determined, and we'll advise you at that point. But we're looking to have a workshop to have the PIs and our Texas Sea Grant Extension team work together and learn how to successfully integrate research with extension so that a competitive proposal may be written by you. So that's the goal of that workshop. Okay, the next thing we'll be going into is actually how to submit a pre-proposal via the EC Grant system, and giving you steps on how to do that with the requirements and the instructions taken exactly from the RFP. And then I'll show you some screenshots on stepping you through the process. And it really is very easy. So the EC Grant system, on page 4, I've copied and pasted this information. So it's going to be very easy for you just to step through this process. EC Grant works best with Firefox and Chrome browsers. So just wanted to give you that heads up there. The PI manual that I spoke of earlier that gives an overview of the EC grant system to you is linked at, it's not linked on this website, on this webinar PowerPoint page, but it is linked in our RFP document. And so you can download that there. All of these documents are also on our website, and I'll show you that in a moment. But so just download and read that. But these are the main instructions on how to just submit the pre-proposal. This is your cheat sheet here. So you'll register as a PI. And the PI, you can delegate a co-PI, but the PI itself, the investigator, is responsible for that proposal. So you can register an account, and if you've already submitted a proposal to us previously, you're probably already in the system, obviously, and you can just log in and reset your password. Once you register and or log in, you'll receive a welcome email with a temporary password. So to then just log in, go to the drop-down arrow next to your name at the upper right, select My Profile, change your password, and then update your profile information. Then simply go to Current Tasks, and you'll see that the RFP for 2020-2022 will be the default task in that tab. So that'll be easy for you just to click on that. Then select Add Proposal, enter your proposal title, choose Continue. Next, you would confirm that that proposal title loaded correctly, skip everything else, click Next, and then select Add Narrative, retype your proposal title, upload that 2-page PDF narrative, choose Save and click Next to go to the submission preview screen to review your document prior to submission. And that screen is also then where you can download it for review. Then you can make edits at any time before the deadline, but you must select Submit before the system automatically closes. And if you make revisions, that's fine. After submitting your pre-proposal, you can always then go in and make any revisions if you'd like, and then be sure to click on Resubmit. And again, that's allowed if you are doing this prior to that 5 o'clock deadline on February 4th. Clicking on Resubmit will allow the EC grant system to record your change. So this page and also the RFP page 4, the cheat sheet steps on how to submit the proposal. Wanted to go over that first and then show you the different screenshots. So as you log into EC Grant, this is the first screen you'll see. Welcome to EC Grant. If you're a new investigator, you would click on Register, and then you get the welcome email, as I said. If you have submitted a proposal previously, and this kind of describes that again, just type in your username, your password. If you've forgotten your password, it'll send you a welcome email with a temporary password. And as I mentioned, then you would go back in, log in, and update your profile. So that's your main login or registration screen. And then for the pre-proposal, there are just, I guess you can see it pretty well, but there's just 3 sections there on the left menu tab. You can go to each section independently, or you can click Next as you go through each item. So I'm giving you an example of where I had clicked on under Tasks. I had previously clicked on the Texas Sea Grant RFP call, and it took me into this screen. And so all you have to do is type in your proposal title. You can see I've got a really significant one there. You can type in your keywords, LAMs, herding techniques, sheep ranchers, coastal resiliency. So you type in these, the dates are automatically populated, so you don't have to worry about that. Then click update, and then it will take you to the next screen where it goes to the left, to the second menu item down on the left, narrative, and you would type in your title again, and at this same screen you would simply upload your pre-proposal 2-page PDF narrative here and save and click next, or you can just click submission preview. So the EC grant system, it'll really step you through the process. So the pre-proposal submission preview has 2 steps as well. It seems like it's a two-step system at this point. So when you are previewing your proposal, this is actually how I download your proposal too. And so this first screen gives a good summary of your information that's already been captured for the pre-proposal document. You can download the entire document here, or you can PDF this page and then click on the file and combine the two. But it would be just simple for you just to click on the one zip download file here. So click on that, review your document. You haven't submitted yet. Top right corner shows the count for how many days are left. And I do not have, this is just the test RFP. I'll release and open up our EC grant system to the pre-proposal competition for the true competition tomorrow. I don't have it open yet for you. And so then, to give you an example, if you were previewing your narrative, this is my proposal, and it has all the items, the 7 items that are required, 7 required elements, and their content, title, again, the PI, co-PI names, affiliations, primary focus area. You can have a secondary if you'd like, but primary. Then your research priority, and this again is taken from the slides either on page 2 of the RFP or page 6 of the research priorities. So my proposal, Mary Had a Little Lamb, the focus area I'm concentrating on, that I'm telling, that I'm writing in my proposal narrative, is the resilient communities and economies. My research priority is the one that's listed under this focus area. This is what my proposal is focusing on for the research priority. There are 2 or 3 that are listed, and I've chosen this one related to coastal planning, risk perception, decision making, etc. Listing my project description, that's pretty obvious, and then explaining the relationship to the Sea Grant focus area and the research priority that you have stated that your pre-proposal will contain. So for me, Mary Had a Little Lamb, sheep herding, I'm focusing on the implementation of herding techniques in order to sustain coastal sheep community. The intellectual merit will address the expected broader impacts for extension, education, and outreach is expected to include, and we would go further into that. And so then how is my proposal and the work that will be done on that proposal, intellectual merit, how does that relate back to the focus area and research priority that I've chosen here? Well, sheep herding fits directly with the focus area of resilient communities and economies, specifically to the research priority chosen of what I have up here. And so my point is that ranchers will soon learn the importance of herding to mitigate all risks to the coastal areas. And then your programmatic justification is writing the balance of your narrative, and this is the 2-page PDF again. Then once you submit the pre-proposal, you'll receive a confirmation email that will populate the title of your pre-proposal for which RFP call, and it will remind you that you can log in and continue to make changes to your proposal at any time up to and before that 5 o'clock deadline on February 4th. So at this point, I'm looking at our chat questions that each of you can then begin to just start copying and pasting or just start typing away, and I will try to address each one. I have one question. Is there any word or character limit for the project title? No. Again, this is just typing as you would have any title. If you've got scientific terms, you might want to limit those and have your title be descriptive and informative to an audience that can understand your topic, not necessarily scientific verbiage or scientific terminology there. I have another, and just let me know if Deb, if I answered that for you appropriately. The next question, are figures allowed in the 2-pager? Yes, I would, remember you've got to, cover the 7 items and then have your narrative not to exceed 2 pages of a PDF document that has a minimum 12-point font. So keep that in mind. Figures, sometimes pictures give a better presentation, and there isn't too much of a limit on your font for the figures, but text and conveying the information with the verbiage is going to be most helpful. So figures are allowed, but remember you've got 2 pages, and you want to be able to tell the reader what you're wanting the reader to understand. And another question, if the PI is at Texas A&M at a Texas university, can the project have a co-PI or sub-awardee at a state university outside Texas? Yes, that can occur, and we want to make sure that it would be a state university. Although we're not concentrating on budget, if on the very first page of the RFP, the budget should be no greater than $150,000 in combined direct and indirect costs per year, and this is a 2-year project. We are also required, as a result of our funding from our sponsor, NOAA, the Department of Commerce, and most NOAA research competitions, as does our competitions, we require 50% of non-federal cost sharing. And so another thing to consider is not to have one of your sub-awardees be an entity that is of a federal nature, because NOAA, not only can we not have cost share from a federal source, but with the implications of indirect costs from one state to another and from the federal flow-through funds, we don't necessarily want to have federal partners. Another question, could you show the outcomes list slide again? Yes, I can. And that is slide 7. And again, this is being recorded and we'll upload the PowerPoint presentation to our website. And let me digress for a moment. Our website here under funding, let's see. So our Texas Sea Grant RFP, you can get to it either by hitting Learn More at that first time when you first hit the landing page under our Sea Grant website, texasseagrant.org. Under Funding, Texas Sea Grant Request for Proposals 2020 to 2022. And all of our information is here in regards to this competition. We have the RFP that you can download again, that general PI manual for EC Grant. You can access EC Grant from here, as well as on the RFP document itself. Again, I was mentioning that the links within this document are strategic plans found on the first page. Research priorities listed again on page 2. And then the pre-proposal instructions. And those same links. So the webinar recording and the PowerPoint will be uploaded to this website. So I just wanted to show that to you right quick. And going back to slide 7. These are the kinds of outcomes that in performance metrics that can be specific goals and outcomes as a result of your research project. And I don't have the slide pages numbered here, but it's slide, oh, it says it's slide 7 rather, yeah, slide 7. Let's see. Will the federal government shutdown affect the funding cycle? Well, our funding, the research competition, the award starts February 1 of 2020 through January 31 of 2022. And every year, we're funded a year at a time from our omnibus, which then we federally flow through those funds to your research award. And so in January, February of every year, the Department of Commerce and NOAA and the National Sea Grant Office sends the funding to us a year at a time. And so we're all kind of paused here on what the federal government is doing now and in the future. And we have continually monitor these types of things. We've got advocates and Congress that advocate for the Sea Grant College program, and so it's not anything that you would need to worry about. We just keep moving forward, and we stay in contact with the researchers in case funding is delayed. Another question: I know a budget isn't required for the pre-proposal, but looking ahead, can soft money grants that overlap with proposed research be counted as cost sharing, if not federal money? How much salary from a hard money university employee can be cost shared? I don't know I'll pledge specific ignorance on how much salary from a hard money university employee can be cost shared. Cost share at 50% of the federal funds, and they would be non-federal sourced. Cost share, once it's proposed in a full proposal, your institution is legally bound with cost sharing that item, and it's a cost share is reported to our sponsor. So for every dollar we fund you and you incur a cost on that proposal, that awarded project, we then report 50 cents of that dollar of how you reported that cost share to us in your full proposal budget. And so that has to be something that is trackable. Payroll is a good method of cost share funding because it's an easily trackable system, as opposed to cost sharing a boat to be used on a research project. The value of the depreciated value of the boat listed as a cost share item. Once you get funded, what if we have another hurricane and that boat is no longer available to be used as cost share on your project? That's not that would not be a reasonable item to cost share, plus the fact that the value of that other type of an item would not hold. So again, you would want to cost share something that's trackable. Regarding your question on soft money grants that overlap with proposed research, I might want to look at that further before I could give you a solid answer. That might not be, it could be allowed, but it may not be easily tracked and reported to us as your funder. So you might keep that question and we can address that further in the future when we get to the point of assisting you with the full proposal. Okay, yes, the proposal will be, or excuse me, the PowerPoint and recording will be available on the website this afternoon. Another question, may I include my collaborator from a Mexican university as a co-PI? Absolutely. We just need to, you know, each of the collaborators would have their, on a full proposal, their CV would be included in your full proposal. Any subawardees, which the collaborator would then become a subaward on your budget at their institution. They would be a subaward and they would have a full proposal budget and cost share, and they would have a scope of work of what they would be doing on your proposal. But again, that'll be addressed at the full proposal stage. And some of these items we have covered in the RFP under the full proposal details of content. So most federal sponsors, and we mirror, Dr. Plotkin has mirrored our RFP after the gold standard of, for example, the National Science Foundation. And most federal sponsors require any collaborators at an institution to be considered a subaward, and they would have their own scope of work, their own budget, separate budget, and budget justification, as I've mentioned. Moving on, let's see, can co-PIs be in the private sector? Consulting firms, yes, they can be. If it's a specific firm, then obviously you know who they would be, then that consulting firm itself would would be also listed as a subaward under the other cost section of the budget. Question from Deb, how many maximum number of keywords do you accept? I think that, I don't know, I don't think that there's a limitation in EC grant, but just test it out and type in what you want to type in and look at that submission preview screen and see how it's populating. If the text is not fully displayed, then you might limit to more keywords, so to speak. Another question, thanks for a great webinar. Well, thank you for joining. Is the goal of this RFP to support single projects, or might you be open to proposals that address a primary focus area but include multiple projects relating to that focus area that could benefit jointly from the funding? For example, a Texas university might have a water resource program that has multiple scholars engaged in different, though related, research on water quality, scarcity. Absolutely. We encourage collaborations, and many institutions have, I know Texas A&M has a Texas Water Resources Institute, and other agencies maybe, or departments or groups within a university. We all encourage collaborations. It might, including multiple projects. Again, it would have to be related to the focus area on your proposal. It is your proposal and your co-PI's proposal. The lead PI is leading the research, and so you want to be able to not have to orchestrate too large of a symphony, and focus, no pun intended, but focus more your research to a primary and maybe secondary focus area, but then again address the research priorities that are listed under each Texas Sea Grant focus area of the strategic plan. Okay, another question. Are previous successful proposals available for review? That's an interesting question. All of our proposals previously funded from Texas Sea Grant are found on our website, as well as all reporting that's done and is uploaded to the National Sea Grant Library, publications, proposals themselves. We have a list of the prior proposals. So under funding, research funded by Texas Sea Grant, that goes back to 1968, lists all the researchers and their topic. We have not uploaded the proposals to our website, the proposals themselves. I think that's more of kind of a privacy concern, but I may be wrong there, and Dr. Plotkin will correct me if I'm wrong there, and we can address that question later. But any outcomes and results from a research project are within 2 years of the research project ending date. Results are made publicly available, and you are required to complete a data management plan on how you're going to share those results of your project. That's a pretty typical requirement of all federal sponsors of their awards and projects. We're not having you have to complete a data management plan for your proposal, for your full proposal. We won't address that until at the award stage. But the actual reviewing of a prior successful proposal, we don't have that available for you to look at, and I apologize again. I can get back with you on that, but the results of a project are required to be made publicly available. Another question, can equipment and supplies purchased through startup funds prior to receiving the Sea Grant award be part of the non-federal cost share? I'm thinking about that. That would not be a proper use for reportable cost share, because those items, you have to quantify the value on your budget, the equipment and supplies, you know, what's the depreciable value, how do we know what supplies are left over. Again, it's something that would need to be purchased or made available at the time you have proposed your proposal, your full proposal, and have it be easily reportable to our sponsor. And it just is not a